Alright everybody, this is your spoiler warning. Spoilers are going to be in tonight's winter finale, I guess, of Let's Chat Once Upon a Time. So if you have not seen tonight's episode of Swan Song, pause it or be warned. You will hear lots of spoilers and other things that you might not wish to hear. So if you're ready, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, it's your own fault. So, we made it. Kinda. I cried. I'm not even gonna lie. Flat out cried. I actually knew I was going to cry, so I actually held off on even doing my eye makeup until after the episode because I knew that tears were just gonna be coming. It was a very emotional night tonight. Not just for us Captain Swan fans, but for all of the Oncers everywhere. There was a lot of emotion tied up into this. We saw Killian's past, we saw young Killian, we saw quote-unquote Papa Hook, aka Brennan, Killian's father. We saw a lot of the Dark Ones. We saw, you know, a lot of things. So let's just get into it. Let's start with the opening scene. The opening scene was actually of young Killian and Brennan, and it showed the moment that Killian's father kind of abandoned him and Liam. He sold them into servitude in exchange for a rowboat, because apparently that's the going rate for 2 children back then. And that kind of flashed forward to the Regina test that she had going with to see if Hook could withstand her mother. She basically brought him to her father, brought Killian to his father. How Brennan came under a sleeping curse was never addressed. That's still a little sketchy, as is the timeline. I know a lot of us are very baffled about the Once Upon a Time timeline, and I don't think Eddie and Adam will ever be able to clearly understand it, but there was a point where Killian said he's been a pirate for 100 years, but if he's actually come back from Neverland, wouldn't it be more like 200, 300 years unless he goes back to Neverland? I'm confused. Flat out hashtag confused. Then he finds out, Killian finds out that Daddy went and got himself a new family, including a new son that he named after his other son, not Killian, but Liam. So that kind of sold the thing, you know. Killian was willing to give his father a second shot, let him and his son go and live in peace, and he would pretend that he killed them, but then he went and found out that Daddy went and, you know, Papa went and got a brand new bag, in this case a new family, and yeah. Didn't go over too well, and Killian killed him, which, you know, feels, all the feels. Which kind of leads us back into present day. That was really the only flashbacks we got, was with Killian's backstory, which we kind of knew was coming. Let's get into the emotional parts. So there's a lot of Emma crying tonight, and it just was weird seeing her as the Dark One and seeing her crying. It just didn't make a lot of sense. Also, her red lip was gone. I felt like she was taking herself a little bit more seriously without the red lip. She wasn't as evil. She was more old school Emma, just with all black and white hair. You know, we saw a lot of the Dark Ones come through, and basically the Dark Ones were marking the people in Storybrooke whose lives they're basically going to take over and ruin, which Emma wasn't marked, Killian wasn't marked, the wee ones and the fairies weren't marked, but pretty much everybody else was screwed. So Emma was adamant of stopping that, and the only way she thought that she could stop that was to sacrifice herself, take all the darkness into herself and snuff out the darkness. Plan was going so well. She got Excalibur from Rumple. She had Regina on board. Then Killian went and kind of hit below the belt and masked himself as Henry to get Excalibur from her. It just kind of led up to the main event, which was the showdown at the pond, aka the Hellmouth, or the entrance to the underworld. And it was there that you see Regina was really the one to kind of get through to Hook that this was not the man he wanted to be. You know, one of the big things that Killian's father kept saying was like, be the man that you want to be. And Regina was kind of the one that to get to Hook, because she had this past history with him and his father of, you don't want to do this. You really do not want to do this. Your revenge is not worth everyone's life and hurting Emma like this. And so he made the ultimate sacrifice. He took all the darkness into the sword, and then he gave the sword to Emma, and Emma had to stab him with it. And it was a very Buffy Angel flashback moment. So for those Buffy fans, I'm sure a lot of you like me, and we're very much flashing back to the end of season 2, where Buffy had to, in order to save the world, Buffy had to kill Angel right as the moment where he regained himself and he said he loved her and they kissed. And now it was the same thing. Killian finally remembered and redeemed himself and became a hero and said he loved her, and they kissed, and then she had to stab him with the damn sword. Oh, it was a lot of feelings. I need more wine. And you saw that the darkness came out of Emma and it came out of Killian, and Emma was back in her red jacket with her normal blonde hair, and Killian had his wound again, and oh, all the feels, and oh, I really wish I had wine right now, but I was not going to drink on camera. And you just saw Emma break down, and I think that a lot of us, I mean, I cried many times, but that was another one of the moments where I just really started to feel for her, because once again, she lost another love. You know, she had lost Neil, where she did love Neil to an extent. She had Henry with Neil. She did love him to an extent. He wasn't her true love, but he was a love. She was just starting to love Graham, or the huntsman, and Regina took him. You know, she didn't necessarily love Walsh, but he went away. And then her truest of loves, Killian, was taken from her. And then Rumple. Rumple is a dick. And granted, now we didn't see any of Camelot, we didn't see any of Merida, we didn't get another chance to say this week in the way that Arthur was a dick, because Arthur wasn't there. It was Rumple who was a dick. Before Rumple gave Excalibur to Emma and Regina, he enchanted it so that it became a conduit. And he became the damn Dark One again. So once again, he couldn't let the grudge with Killian go. He killed Killian. Rumple's a dick. So probably in next season it will be a weekly occurrence of Rumple's a dick because, but this week, Rumple. And, you know, Emma used him. I mean, she was like, I still have magic. I can still go tell Belle. I now know how to poof myself places. I can do that now. And then the closing shot of this week was, you know, going to the underworld. And those of us who have been paying attention to the spoilers on Tumblr and all that stuff, we've all known for about a good month or so now that Season 5B is going to be going into the underworld to retrieve Hook from the underworld and bring him back. Which means we're going to be seeing a lot of familiar faces next season, next mid-season, next arc. Peter Pan is back, Robbie Kay, we've got Coro, Barbara Hershey is back, we've got the Blind Witch from the Hansel and Gretel story, Regina's father, Prince Henry, will be back, we'll see Hercules, we'll see Meg, and Mila. That was just announced this week, though we've seen the spoiler pictures for about a week or so now. They did finally announce it this week, that Mila will be back for at least 1 or 2 episodes of next week, so that's going to be awkward family reunions all around. Gotta love Once Upon a Time for that. The Zelena storyline, I'm hoping that was wrapped up this week. I was really kind of let down with the way that Zelena was used this season. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more wit from her, but she wasn't really used except for a possible vessel for evil for Emma, but Regina sent her back to Oz. Basically was how that one ended. So even though Rebecca Matter is a series regular for the entire season, I don't know how much of her we'll be seeing in the 5B arc. Other than that, I hope everyone recovers, rewatch it, remember Killian is not going anywhere, Colin O'Donoghue is not going anywhere. He is beloved by all the fans, and Adam and Eddie would be ridiculously stupid to write him off completely. He will be on that show. He will be on the show until the series ends, which hopefully won't be for many, many more years. So until that, Let's Chat Once Upon a Time will be back on March 6th, which is when the 100th episode premieres, which is also the Season 5B premiere. So we will be back then. I may or may not be doing more videos throughout the break. Hopefully we can do, there's been some requests to do Let's Chat Agent Carter So we will see how that goes. Until then, I hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah for those of you who are celebrating. Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and I will see you guys in March. Bye.